Strays has been on my radar since it came out in 2023, and I could never make up my mind whether or not I wanted to watch it. And I finally decided to. And for the most part, I thought it was really good. There's one part of it, not one specific part of the film, but one aspect of the story that I'm not the most comfortable with. And I got really upset on multiple occasions, even though it is a very funny film. So it was quite an experience, and I'll expand on that in a moment. This was, of course, released in 2023. It's directed by Josh Greenbaum, written by Dan Perrault, and we have a cast and voice cast, including, to name just a few, Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Isla Fisher, Will Forte, Sofía Vergara, Josh Gad. Obviously, we have a fantastic cast. And the characters, for the most part, are all dogs. We have some human characters, but for the most part, they're dogs. We have a great variety of breeds. They're absolutely beautiful. If you're an animal person, if you're a dog person, that part will absolutely appeal. They are so stunning. And then within a couple of minutes, actually, before I get in with the narrative, I should probably say something. First of all, if you haven't heard of this and you're perhaps younger and you're just looking to watch a cute dog film, please don't watch this. This has a 15 rating according to IMDb. I don't know if that's the UK or the US rating. According to IMDb, the UK rating is a 15, and in the States it's either TV 14 or 16 plus, and it has an R certificate for something as well, so I don't really know what any of that means. But either way, it's not for children. It's quite a very crude film, in fact. I'd say pretty much every bit of the dialogue. That might be an exaggeration, but actually I'm not sure. Pretty much all of it has some kind of crude remark or reference to sex or pooping, and for the most part, I don't mind that. It works very well, but I will expand on one part of it that makes me feel a little uncomfortable, bearing in mind these are animals. But the narrative starts off really quite emotionally, actually, because this dog is Reggie, young Reggie, is living with his human, and this human is not a good person. He does not deserve a dog. He does not deserve Reggie. So that makes it easier to deal with when he decides to abandon Reggie, and Reggie becomes a stray. But I genuinely got emotional. Like many people, I struggle to watch animal films because even the slightest emotional part really makes me well up. And it was a rough start, but I was conflicted because I was really upset that Reggie was being cast aside and Reggie didn't understand and he just wanted to go home. But then I remembered what was at home, and I realised that maybe, well, I don't want to say Reggie would be better off on the streets, but almost any life has to be better than the life he had with Doug. So it was a very emotional and thought-provoking start. The film is then about Reggie meeting other stray dogs, and we have all of these beautiful dogs, and they decide to track Doug down, and, well, Reggie plans on doing something to him. I won't say what it is. I don't know if I can say what it is on YouTube, but it involves his male member, and Reggie doing something to Doug's male member. I'll say no more than that. And on the journey, they meet other characters. There are a lot of other obstacles. We learn about the other dogs and their lives and how they became strays. And along the way, they have a lot of very crude conversations, which, as I said, I don't mind. But the bit that I really feel quite uncomfortable with is when we have them getting quite aroused and having very heavily flirtatious conversations with each other because they're dogs. And I don't like to think too much about sex in relation to dogs. I just think that's a little too far for my liking, because I'm not, but the film is sexualizing them. When we have this kind of soft core dialogue between the dogs, I find that really uncomfortable because they're dogs, they're animals, and I don't think the two should be mixed. Humans shouldn't think about dogs having soft dialogue between each other like that. So I didn't like that, but the rest of it, the crass comments, the languages, all of that, I don't have any issue with it. It works quite well. In fact, it's kind of how I imagine dogs to talk. That's kind of what I could imagine dogs communicating like. So that actually was pretty good and quite funny, but occasionally it went a little too far. I'm not saying it bordered on bestiality. I mean, it wouldn't, because it's dog on dog, but it's a little bit too much for me. It's kind of turning dog sex into a fantasy, and I can't, it's not something humans should be thinking about. So I didn't care for that part of it. But aside from that, absolutely fine. But I will admit that it's not going to be for everybody. And actually, it might not be for me in every situation. It might not be the kind of film or dialogue that I'm in the mood for. But as I said, I'd been considering watching it for a while. And I figured I'm in the mood for something that's more lighthearted. Started crying within the first 10 minutes, but other than that, it is quite lighthearted with some great characters. The dogs are beautiful, the voice acting is great, the humans are great. Visually, it's really good. We obviously travel quite a distance, so we have a lot of variety in what we're looking at. The characters, the dogs are very well written characters, very believable. As I said, a lot of the dialogue is how I imagine dogs would communicate with each other. It just went a little too far for my liking in a way that was uncomfortable. But aside from that, I thought Strays was a decent experience. I only watched it because I subscribed to Now TV for a couple of other films, and I thought, well, I'm here, I might as well give it a go. And I'd say I'm pleased I did. It won't be for everybody. It won't be for me on every occasion, but if it sounds like your kind of film or the kind of film you're in the mood for, and you love dogs, and you don't mind that kind of language, give it a go. Strays is definitely a unique experience, and I'm happy enough to recommend it.